back to Frederick Advice Givers, episode 160. I am Eric Birdie. To my right, I have Tobin Lehman.
How's it going?
At New North, we are in the heart, well, just outside the heart, but we're in the heart of downtown Frederick. And I was actually in this building a few years ago for a meeting with Harris Maria.
Right.
So did Harris Maria occupy this space prior?
They did for a while, and they moved up to the second floor, and so the space became available, and we moved in about 30 days ago.
Awesome. So Tobin is a fellow cadet. He and I both went to Frederick High. I found out in the pre-interview. I was 94. He's a few years after me, 97. So we've got some roots there. One of his, Veronica, who works for Tobin, reached out to me. They are just opening this new facility. They were above Isabella's, and now they've got a more expansive space here. Right outside of Frederick, as I mentioned. Right across from the visitor center. Right next door to Pedigo Bikes, who we had on the podcast a few episodes ago. So Tobin, I'm glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here too.
Thanks for joining us, man. So for our audience that doesn't know you, who's your backstory, who you are, where you grew up, what do you enjoy doing?
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm a Frederick native, so I grew up here in Frederick, and going through high school, and then actually went to Penn State for my education and came back to Frederick. And many people kind of leave Frederick after college in that sense, but I've always drawn to Frederick, always enjoyed Frederick. There's a great sense of community as well as just maybe a life balance people have in Frederick. They kind of appreciate it, those who kind of desire to be here. So that's kind of why kind of stood there. But my story, working in agencies after coming in from design school, so I'm a graphic designer by trade, but kind of coming out realizing that design is good, but we need business, we need advertising, we need marketing. And so quickly shifting into marketing, worked for a couple of different agencies in DC and coming up to Frederick and started my own business in 2008. And so we're actually rolling into our 10-year anniversary this month as well. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That digital media space, especially in the last 10 years, especially in really the last 3, has kind of shifted, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, your business model when you started. So, what's your business model now? Where is most of your marketing done for your clients? We'll get into the details in a minute. But
yeah, the basic generalization of what we do in digital is, started with websites, and that's what's kind of the first push into digital is websites. And then, I'm old enough, but hopefully still young enough to remember when social media started. So my staff don't know that start day, but seeing digital shift, and now we're seeing even a bigger shift to mobile and then to video and things like this. I mean, I'd be in a certain place to say that websites may even be a thing of the past in the soon-to-be future. So how media changes, how digital changes, and how we look at that marketing for B2B customers that we market for. Yeah,
the website is kind of going the way of the yellow pages, in my opinion. You need it as a branded source or just that foothold that the consumer knows that you're a legitimate business. But that's not the way to drive business anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah, it ties into a bigger system, but it's to attract people, to draw interest, much like you're doing here. It's a different medium.
Exactly. I was checking out your website before I came on. It's very good. You offer your free report, right? So you're trying to get people into your world. And then I'm sure there's a follow-up sequence. And
you got all the tricks and goodies.
All those steps. So why did you choose Frederick? I know you're a local Frederick native. And you mentioned you're married, you have kids? Yeah, we
live in Monrovia, my kids and my wife and I. And so I chose Frederick mostly because I just love this town. I love the business community. I saw really the advantage of growing up here that you are 30 minutes from DC or 30 minutes from Baltimore. You're 2.5-hour train ride from New York. So why live in the jungle when you can live in this wonderful countryside of Frederick and make a day trip to those places. So for me, it was kind of the convenience of that, and having family here was obviously big too, and just loving the fact that you've got this great downtown you can walk through, get lunch, and it's not elbow to elbow, and it's kind of, but that's changed a lot in 39 years that I've been here. So
is your wife from Frederick?
She's from Baltimore.
Okay. So how did you two meet?
We actually met when I moved back to college, or moved from college back to Frederick. We lived in the same apartment building.
Okay.
So it was kind of a cool little thing there.
All right, Tobin, so the next 2 questions are more of a personal nature.
Sure.
What's the last purchase that you splurged on for yourself or your family?
So with 4 kids, I don't splurge a whole lot. So it was a tough question just thinking about it. But I think big thing for us was we actually just adopted a son. And so a big splurge for us was traveling to Lithuania for a month. And so we adopted a boy with Down syndrome. He's 3 years old. He's now part of our family. And so it felt like being on a vacation for a month in Lithuania. It was a fantastic trip and experience, different country. I'd never been outside the U.S. Prior to that. So it felt like a splurge because we were in a beautiful European country for 5 weeks, pretty much, to pick him up and then to just explore and see what's there.
Did your other 3 kids go with you?
Yes, they did. The whole family went. Yeah, it was super fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What hobby or interest could you spend hours doing?
Well, this may seem strange, but my family and friends would verify. I love business. I really do. I mean, I started my first business when I was 6, selling candy. Okay. And so I've had 5 businesses. Fort New North is my 5th. It's actually 3rd in order, but it's the last one. So I've always been a student of business. I mean, I love those, how it's made shows. I mean, I'd love to see how people create and sell and market things for other people. Because it's all about creating value for the next person, right? The other business creating the value for the other consumer. So my wife has this joke as we start seeing things and I start talking like, oh, you could get that. You could do production over here. I can turn anything into a business. And so that's kind of our running joke. But that's kind of a hobby and a passion of mine, is to see business, see it grow, see people flourish with the passion that they have. Right.
Yeah, I mean, life and business is all about a value exchange, right? Yep. You're exchanging a service or a product for a monetary value or another service or product.
Absolutely.
And both parties have to feel it's a win-win transaction.
Right.
Or one party is not going to continue that relationship.
Exactly.
And you said, so I want to talk about your business model real quick. You said you're in the B2B business for digital marketing, digital media for companies. Yep. So explain that.
Yeah, it sounds a bit niche, but I think what the idea here is that, I first came out of school, was marketing for all kinds of different things. I mean, marketing for the Redskins, for Pfizer, all kinds of different companies. But as I developed my own shop and this company here, we started working a lot in the building products industry. And that is really this kind of distributor model of selling from a factory to distributors and then to the end customer. And so that started developing this idea of how we sell into other businesses or distributors. And then finding other professional service firms that we market for. And so over the past 10 years, we've developed this expertise and this knowledge of how businesses sell into a complex sell or into a considered purchase, where it's not just a buy now kind of situation. There's an evaluation, there's a process, there's a vetting of expertise and capabilities. And so for us, the B2B space is really about establishing an expertise and a position and how
for your client.
For the client, correct, for the client, for their end customer, and then marketing them through digital means to get there.
So do you get with them and come together and put together a whole marketing plan and how they're going to differentiate their service or product from the distributor down the street?
Absolutely. So it starts as simple as that, to go through and say, well, what your product has to fit in the market. So we can do that marketing strategy piece to look at analysis, but then also to step back and say, well, what means of outreach, whether that's website, social media, video, go into that package to make that message occur, like to get out into the market. And so we look at the strategy, we look at paid, look at all the different elements. And for us, our model from a business perspective is a lot of companies in the B2B space don't have marketing departments. And so they know they need marketing. It's a mystery to them. And you'll see on our walls here in the office, our kind of mission statement is we take the mystery out of marketing. They know they need to do it. They know there's things out there. They see this, they see that, but they don't really know exactly what to do. And so for us, taking the mystery out of marketing means identifying the audience, the product, the unique selling propositions, and positioning that marketing for them.
So are you a fee service business or are you a revenue share business with your partners that you market for?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, it's a great question. We're mostly a fee service business right now. We've had people talk to us about the other structure. It depends on the maturity of that business, honestly.
Because if you help take a business from 5 to 50 million, your monthly retainer fee or monthly fee as a business would probably be better if you were shared in that revenue.
Right, absolutely. And it definitely could be. I think some businesses maybe are in that 1 to 2 million may not have a vetted marketing and sales process to be able to predict some of that revenue. So it gets a little tricky and cart before the horse scenario with that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yep. Yeah, I mean, marketing fascinates me. I'm always studying direct response, Gary Halbert, Dan Kennedy, those guys, and then even more so recently I've gotten into like Frank Kern and Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure you're familiar with both of those guys. And they're more B2C. I guess Vaynerchuk's probably B2B with their whole branding model. And they're going out there and putting themselves they're basically putting themselves as the company.
Yep.
And they've got a team much like you do. I see 7 people out there working behind the scenes for you. So do you study those guys too?
Yeah, I mean, those guys are great. I mean, even adding to that, like Ryan Levesque with the Ask process, I mean, that's great. Story brand is another big piece for us with looking at how messaging and story go together. I mean, it's funny now when we look at customers, I mean, there's just so many of these things that they do that just get in their own way with messaging and kind of how they approach the market and things like that. I mean, looking at us being the hero in that context versus our customer being the hero and how we change simple messaging, little wording to, and we've seen leads go from 4 or 5 a month to 15 to 20 a month simply by changing some language on our homepage. I mean, it's amazing what messaging does in that context.
Awesome. So when you wake up in the morning, what's that drive inside of you that keeps you going?
Absolutely. Well, for me, my faith is a big component to my office and my work. And so for me, it starts at 5 a.m. I get up, do some prayer, some coffee. Then I'll jump into reading and journaling. So I read a lot of books. You can see my bookshelf here. I've read all these books. That's kind of one of my things is to have a book, not a bookshelf with books I haven't read before. So I do a lot of reading in that, studying in that, and then go to work out maybe, get some energy. And I find I reach kind of that super energized state at the end of all that. I think people say, oh, you get up at 5 a.m. and you don't feel very good. Well, I don't think anyone does at 5 a.m. The idea is getting yourself there, getting your time, getting your reading, getting your exercise. And when I kind of pop upstairs at 7 a.m., then I'm ready, right? I'm ready and prepared, and I can, wake up some kids and get some breakfast going, and I'm ready to serve my clients better then. I mean, my job is to present ideas, concepts, strategies for my clients to better their businesses. So I need to make sure that I'm in the best place possible rolling in here at 9 a.m.
Have you read Miracle Morning?
I've heard of it. I haven't read it yet.
It's a great book.
Sounds like a good one, yeah.
It is. All right, so what advice would you give somebody just starting out in business? You've been in for 10 years now. Yeah. You've grown probably from was it just solo when you started out?
It was just me, yeah, just me in the attic.
Just solo starting out to a large team.
I'd say the biggest piece of advice, honestly, is getting tough love from advisors. Mm-hmm. That's really the biggest challenge, I think. As entrepreneurs and starting enough businesses now, entrepreneurs don't lack enthusiasm. What they lack is counsel, solid advice. So having an idea is one thing. You put a lot of energy behind a really bad idea, but having a good idea, having the energy, but then also having people who've maybe traveled the road a little bit, whether that's a business coach, whether that's an advisor, whether it's a team of other business people who can at least test you on some of your assumptions, can really just unclog that progress funnel for you very quickly. And so anyone starting, I'd say get 2 to 3 advisors so you can just dump your P&L on and dump your ideas on, and they can give you the tough feedback you need.
I love that. Yeah, I've got, like you just mentioned, I've got 2 people that I reach out to constantly. Hey, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of here? And then even outside of those 2, I've got another 6 or 8 kind of on the ancillary outside that we bounce specific ideas about business and growth and development off of one another. So yeah, having a team around you that don't work with you on a daily basis, but maybe have traveled that path or are traveling a similar path with you is hugely beneficial. Yeah,
because they're definitely looking out for your blind spots, and they know you more to where your area might be.
All right, so on the flip side of that, what's a bad piece of advice somebody gave you?
Oh, from a business perspective, it's funny, I try to forget as much bad advice as possible, so I have to kind of dig around. I think, tactics can be mistaken for good strategy. I think sometimes we can be told to do certain things. This thing will fix this problem. If you do this, you might solve your hiring challenge. You do this, you might solve your financing challenge. And I think, the problem with that is kind of asking the why, like turning that back on the thing of what do we need financing for, or what do we need a growth strategy for? What are we ultimately trying to accomplish? Because we can get busy with tactics. I mean, if you talk about, the marketing gurus out there, they could push a certain idea or a certain growth strategy, and that may work for them, but, how does it really tie into your position, your strategy? I mean, I operated this business for about 3 years without core values, without a mission, without a vision statement. And it sounds, if you're kind of starting out, I'm sure you've heard this beaten in your head 100 times, and it's just like, well, I don't see it. And I don't think I really saw the value of those things until I got to 2-3 employees, when you're starting to align people to purpose and goals. Because you as an entrepreneur yourself, you're aligned. You're internally, you're there. You're on the mission. But when you start bringing other people along, you need to have those kind of pieces there. And so, I've shed a lot of bad advice, hopefully never remembering it again. But in the same sense, kind of when you hear something, to wonder what it is. Like, that may work for them, but would it fit for you, and kind of analyzing that a little bit more.
You basically got to have that North Star.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you're striving for.
Yep,
and
for
getting your team and your employees to get to that, follow that North Star.
Yep.
You know, and have their decisions align with your values.
Absolutely.
So, in the last 3 years, what's one decision that you've made? It could be professional, could be personal. That's led us to where you are today.
Yeah. Well, we were talking a little bit in the pre-interview. Frederick has a lot of lifestyle businesses, which are fantastic. I mean, they grow to a certain size, they sustain income, they employ people. They're fantastic. We made a decision about 3 years ago to kind of move from the lifestyle business to a scale strategy. We wanted to grow and we want to serve businesses outside of Frederick County. And we have now. Most of our clients are actually not in Frederick County. They're outside of the area. And so as we grow, that involves kind of thinking as a bigger company and kind of strategizing that. And so implementing Traction, which is, Wickman's book, the EOS operating system, that was a huge decision to look at structuring business as a growth organization and then pushing growth in that area. So that was a pretty big decision. That's been kind of instrumental in a lot of the changes and kind of being in this new space now too, as we strategize and think forward.
So one of the books on your shelf is Rocket Fuel.
Yep.
You've read it.
Yep.
Obviously. So are you the visionary?
I'm the visionary and implementer right now, but I'm working on getting an implementer going.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing when you're growing.
Yep.
It's rare for somebody to have both the visionary and the integrator role.
Yep.
And I just met with somebody the other day. She has taken a company from 30 people to 200 people because she's doing the integrator role.
Okay, great.
So yeah, if I had one piece of advice for you, as you want to grow and scale, because I imagine you have systems in place,
right?
You have checklists in place and all that. It's finding that integrator that can help fulfill your vision.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely on the short list.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, so you are episode 160, Tobin.
Yep.
I've sat across the microphone from 159 other entrepreneurs and business owners.
Yep.
I learn a lot by picking other people's brains. It's basically what my questions are. Trying to find some insight into life and business and finances and personal health. And, I want to flip the script and have you ask me a question. Great.
So if you had to interview a person, it'd be your last interview, your best possible interview, who would it be?
That's a very good question. If I could only have one interview.
One more, and you get to pick whoever it would be.
It would probably be somebody, and this is kind of counterintuitive to who I am as a person.
Right.
You mentioned your faith is very big in your world. I believe in faith. I'm not overly religious, but it would be somebody like Buddha or somebody like that, or a Gandhi type. Basically to figure out or to ask those questions about somebody that is more enlightened.
Sure.
Right. Somebody that has a deeper why. Somebody that, and I don't know if it's a specific person, but a type of person that I would like to interview. Right. And that's totally outside of the business space. You can do business interviews all day, and these are great. But having been through life and tragedies and losing close loved ones and seeing people go through cancer and all that kind of stuff, that's when somebody's really at peace with themselves, like a Gandhi or Buddha, some Catholic priest, somebody that's higher up. And that's very, anybody that's known me for 159 episodes or knows me personally, that's very counterintuitive to what I speak about and talk about on a day-to-day basis. But it is very important that the faith is very important to and I'm always learning.
Sure.
So to gain insight from somebody that's up here,
absolutely,
would be a cool interview.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
That was a great question.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I think
So give me your insight on that.
But for me, I kind of get that interview every morning in the scriptures.
Right.
And so I get to work that conversation with God and ask Christ these questions. And his word is voluminous in that context, to give you Proverbs, just pure wisdom pouring out me, the richest man known in the entire world, Solomon.
Right.
His wisdom is in there, and then handling with loss and all these things is in there in the scriptures. So you have that opportunity, in the scriptures. But I think ultimately in business, we have to have an ethical perspective. We have to think beyond just what we serve and how we do. And I think we all have that barometer to push into. And so I think everyone's looking for those answers, those questions. Business is one aspect, but ultimately, you've been in business long enough too. There's a time where you meet a client who has that life tragedy, that has that challenge, that loses a child, loses a loved one. At that point, we're all human, and business doesn't really matter anymore. But where we think we're going, what's happening in that context, can be reassuring in that. That's the ultimate questions we look for.
It is.
Yeah.
That was a great question.
Yeah.
So what failure or loss has helped mold you to the person you are today?
I feel like I fail every day. So I think probably the biggest failures for me in terms of this is really...
That doesn't have to be strictly business related.
Absolutely. No, it's not. So I think, parenting, you learn a lot of lessons, right? Tons,
Every day.
Tons, right? So I think, you learn those lessons, you fail. For us, we had, on the business side, we had an app that we launched, a separate product. It was good, it was solid, but we learned the kind of the lesson of bandwidth very quickly. We had two businesses running from one set of operating pieces. We couldn't put enough attention into either, and so they both suffered. So we learned that failure. We luckily shut down without too much damage. It was fine, but it learned to focus. That was a big lesson in focus and bandwidth. Personally, I said parenting is a long journey, marriage is a long journey, and so you need those things to learn and sharpen, become better. And I believe we're on a path to growing and becoming better at business and life and marriage and all those things. And so I kind of treasure it. I mean, I forget who it was. I think it was some kind of general said feedback is the breakfast of champions.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe it. I think it takes some time to learn that and kind of face that. But once you get to that point where you're able to take that feedback and realize, okay, well, that's today. Tomorrow's going to be different.
Right.
Kind of face onto it.
I want to piggyback on your kind of parenting aspect. I've got two boys. You've got four.
Yeah.
Each day, in and of itself, is a challenge, and you're like, you want to discipline them or teach them something.
Yeah.
And did I do that correctly? And with both of my boys, and probably all four of your kids, you've got to treat each one differently.
Yeah.
Now, being 11 and 9 now, we've kind of had that North Star. Okay, so kind of like a business.
Good.
We've had that North Star that, you treat people right, you're nice to everybody, you're responsible and respectful. Granted, the messaging to both Anthony and Alex comes across differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Differently. Mm-hmm. But having the North Star, and then I'm kind of having an epiphany right now, having the North Star with parenting, I've seen the kids, even though they learn different directions, they're both good kids.
Absolutely.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And growing a company, if you have that North Star, although you're 4 or 6 or 30 or 800 employees, all have different personalities, all have different values, all are motivated differently.
Yep.
If you can guide them to that North Star,
absolutely,
then you're going to have a successful business and a successful family. Right?
Absolutely. Yep. Do the same thing with your family. And I think even the marketing side, we're doing that internally with our employees and our customers in the same way. If we can put them all to the same mission, they're all on board. I mean, asking your customer and your employee, why do we exist? If they can answer the same answer, you're there, right? If you can ask your kids the same mission, they can respond, you're there. I mean, getting that alignment is so key for moving in the right direction.
It is.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you see your vision turning into in 3 years and then in 10 years?
Well, short term, we're really trying to work on our systems, from an EOS perspective, trying to get our systems in place, figuring out what scaling looks like as we kind of grow, being diligent in client selection, getting the right team together to service that, make sure we're doing a great job for our clients. That's kind of the short term, kind of getting poised for that kind of bigger step in growth. Every business has its kind of ceiling points that you have to kind of hit, and then you kind of break through and go from there. So we're getting close to that first big ceiling point for ourselves. 10 years from now, we have a mission at New North. So kind of our North Star, we call it the 3M mission. 3M meaning we want to be a $3 million business. And additionally, we want to be we want to have had impacted 3 million people for Christ in that process.
Okay.
So that kind of goes with our charitable giving, with our mission work. We serve at the Soup Kitchen every month. We do Habitat for Humanity. We do things as a team to give back to our community as well. And that kind of comes back to that idea of legacy. I mean, New North, what we do, I mean, I've been around this business long enough. Websites we build go away. Marketing we does go away. I mean, the tweet you just did last week is gone, right? We create very intangible things that just kind of go away. But the impact we can make as a company, as a business, as a community, that can last generations. And so we make sure we're handling both of those aspects in our business. So that's our North Star.
Absolutely. So I want to delve back into your business before we finish up the interview. So you're B2B. Mm-hmm. How do you acquire your clients? And then you said most are not in Frederick anymore, so you're not touching, feeling them in front of them, unless are you flying to Raleigh or you flying to San Francisco?
Yeah, I don't have quite as many frequent flyer miles. So we do an aspect of marketing called inbound marketing, meaning that we do enough content creation, things on the web where the leads actually come to us. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I'm getting a contact from Houston. So I'm getting a contact from Chicago. They're actually filling out forms, finding our information online, downloading our ebook, looking at our videos, whatever it may be, filling out interest and coming to us. I don't travel very much. Actually, I don't travel at all for these kind of national sales accounts, except for maybe Kickoff or something like that. But all of our stuff is inbound, and that's part of what we do. I mean, we kind of become not the alternative to a sales team, but kind of the inverse sales team. You have your outbound guys going out, shaking, networking, doing that kind of thing. And you have marketing is out there, kind of scraping the internet, so to speak, of people who have interest in your product and service and bringing them in. So that inbound methodology. So that's really how our clients actually find us versus we going to find our clients.
I love it. That piggybacks on what I've been doing the last 6 years.
Absolutely.
Which is it was basically content-based branding. You call it marketing, I call it branding.
Yep.
There's 3 C's that I've talked about: consistent, compelling, communication.
Yep.
Okay. If you consistently put your message, your media, your story out there to the public, they'll find you. Like, there's so many ways to find you. You can do it print, you can do it digital, you can do it audio, you can do it visual, as we're doing now. That's awesome that you got that business model, because mine is very similar.
Yeah, it's good for all businesses who want to have a greater impact and reach, and reach is kind of the word right now in terms of digital. I mean, who you have as your universe, like who kind of Gary Vee, everyone loves him, but behind the scenes, he's just created a massive universe, right? People who just are on his content constantly. And so the more universe, more attention we can take. Attention is the currency. More we can capture of that, especially in time of need, in terms of, I need this service, I need this product, we're looking to expand, we need to do facility maintenance. I mean, getting all those pieces out there, so when the need arrives, you're in that communication already.
Right. All right, Tobin. So this podcast is going to be out there in the audio version. They're also going to see the video podcast. So give your story, your background, how people get a hold of you, what websites they could go to find out more, find your ebook.
Sure.
So now's your time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go to newnorth.com. You can check out all of our resources there. Obviously, you can find me on LinkedIn and follow me there. Newnorth.com is going to have most of our resources, most of our information around kind of what we do, who we do it for, and please reach out if you want to talk. We do free consultations on social media, video marketing, websites, really any aspect of digital. You want to see if it's working for you, or even if you have a kind of unique business that you're not sure how to market, happy to talk to you, give you some ideas to think about that.
Awesome. Listeners, viewers, I hope you enjoyed Tobin Lehman at New North, episode 160, his interview, as much as I enjoyed giving it to you. We went pretty deep there. I almost, it was a great interview. So I enjoyed our time with Tobin. I hope you did too. And we are out.